border dash neutral dash 800 px-5 and py-2. And you actually see our little space right here. All right. Inside of that, first thing I want to do is I want to create the form, which is going to show if the user is logged out. So let's create that first because it's easier. So div, give it a class name of py-8. And inside of that, create an h1 tag, which is going to say welcome to Twitter. As you can see, it's right here, but it's not visible because the text is black. So let's go ahead and style the text a little bit. So class name is text-white, text-to-excel, text-center, MB-4, and font-bold. And now it looks much, much better. And all we have to do is add some buttons below. So create a div right here with a class name of flex-row, items-center, justify-center, and gap-4. All right, and we're going to add 2 buttons here, which you can import from ./button because we are in the components folder right here, and the button is right here. All right, and let's give the label for the first one login, and for the second one register. All right, and now let's give the onClick for the login to be login model on open, and for the register onClick going to be register model on open. All right, and now they look the same. So all I want to do is I want to add another property to this register button right here called secondary. Great. So now we have our login and register, and if we click, you can actually see that we open our models. Great. But since we are logged in, we obviously want to show something different. So for that, we're going to use our current user hook right here. So just above this py-8 model right here, create a conditional current user, and here just write an empty div for now. Otherwise, just wrap this entire div of py-8 like this. Great. So now if we are logged out, we're going to see this welcome to Twitter screen. But if we are logged in, we're not going to see anything because that's what we are going to create right now. All right. So in this newly created div right here, give a class name of flex-row, gap-4. And inside of that, create another div and create an avatar component right here. So avatar like this, and you can import avatar from ./avatar the same way we did with button. And let's give it a user ID. So the user ID is going to be equal to current user _ID. And we have our user right here. All right. And now below that, create another div with the class name of w-full. And let's create an element text area. And for now, you can remove all of these properties right here. And we're just going to start by adding some attributes. So disabled if is loading. On change is going to modify our body state. So we're going to have an event. And we're going to set body event.target.value like this. All right. You can see our little text area right here. Now we're going to style it a bit. But before that, let's just give it a value of body as well. And now let's write some class names. So class name disabled is going to be opacity-80. It's going to be here because we're going to do something with the sibling element right next to it in just a moment. Resize-none, empty-3, w-full, bg-black, ring-0, outline-none, text-open square brackets 20 pixels, placeholder-neutral-500, neutral-500, and text-white. And also let's add the last attribute, placeholder. And you can see that we now have the what's happening placeholder right here, which we have in our props. Perfect. All right. And below this text area, let's just create an HR element, which is going to have some class names as well. So class name. So first of all, opacity -0 by default, but on peer focus. So when we focus on the text area, because text area has the peer class name, we're going to give it an opacity of 100, h square brackets 1 pixel, w full, order -neutral -800, and transition. So now if you actually hover on the, if you focus on the text area, you will see our little HR appearing right here. All right. And just below this HR, create a div with the following class names. So class name, empty-4, flex, flex-row, and justify-end. And inside of that, we're just going to put our button, which is going to have a label of tweet. And you can see it's appearing right here. Perfect. And now let's just give it some other attributes here. Let's give it a disabled if it's loading. And let's give it an on-click on submit. And I also want to disable the tweet button if we have not written anything. So just add is loading pipe question mark exclamation mark body like this. So now it's disabled if we have nothing here, but if we start typing, you can see that we actually are able to tweet. So you can actually go ahead, and I'm going to collapse this a little bit, and we're going to test if we are able to create our tweet. So I'm going to go into the network tab right here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to say, well, I can just tweet this. And as you can see, we are initiating the call right here, and we get the success tweet created. And if I actually go inside, you can see that we have created a tweet with the body of our value, created that ID, liked IDs, updated at, and user ID. Perfect. Great job. All right. And now it's time to create our post feed right here, so we can actually see the posts which we have created. So close everything up and go back into your pages, index.tsx, and just below this form, create a new component called post feed, just like this. And you're going to get an error because post feed does not exist. So let's go ahead and create that. So we're going to go into components and create a new folder called posts. And inside of that, create a new file, post feed.tsx. Let's name the component post feed, and let's just return an empty div so we can fix the error quickly. Go back into your pages, index.tsx, and just import post feed from add/components/posts post feed. Great, the error should go away now. Now let's write some interface for post feed. So post feed props is going to be equal to user ID question mark string. So it is an optional prop. Let's assign the props. Post feed props. Let's just extract this user ID here. And let's load our posts using the use posts hook. So const data posts is equal to an empty array. And it's using the use posts hook right here. And it's going to accept the optional user ID if it exists. So why are we sending this user ID? Well, right here in our index file, we are sending the post ID and we want to load all of the posts, but we're going to reuse this post ID on the profile page as well, in which we're going to pass the user ID prop, for example. But for this one, we don't need it. All right. So this is going to load all posts for now. And all I want to do here is I want to reiterate through these posts. So open an empty fragment here and just write posts.map post, which is a type of record, string comma any, and just return post item. It does not exist yet, but let's give it some values. So user ID again, user ID if it exists, key post.id, and data, which is post. And if you save, of course, we're going to get an error. So let's go ahead into our components, into our posts folder, and let's create a new file, post item.tsx. Name the component post item like this, and as always, just create an empty div so we fix the error. Go back into your post feed and just import it right here from /post item because they are in the same folder and the error should go away. Great. And now let's create the interface for this post item. So interface post item props. data, which is a type of record, string, comma, any, and user ID, which is an optional string. Now let's assign these props. So React functional component, post item props, and let's extract this. So data and user ID. Great. Okay, now let's add some hooks and some functions. So first of all, we're gonna need our router. So const router is equal to use router. You can import router from next/router. We're gonna use the login model as well. So const login model is equal to use login model. You can import login model from hooks/using model. All right. And now let's fetch our current user. So const data alias current user, use current user hook, which you can import from hooks/current user. All right. Now let's create our go to user method, which you're going to reuse a few times. So const go to user is equal to use callback, which you can import from React. Don't forget the dependency array. And go to user is actually going to accept an event, which is a type of any. And let's stop the propagation. So event stop propagation. We already did this in the avatar component, if you remember. So when we click on the avatar component, we also accept an event and we stop the propagation. What that is doing, basically the card post item is going to be clickable. So this main div is going to be clickable, but this go to user is going to be used for some inner child elements. So when we click on those inner child elements, we want to stop event bubbling, event propagation. So go to user is going to override the global on click of the parent. All right. And all we want to do here is router.push, open template literals, and just write /users/ open the special object data.user.id, and fill the dependency array with router and data.user.id. All right, now let's create our go to post method. Const go to post, which is also going to be use callback. It's not going to accept any event, and all it's going to do is router.push, also template literals /posts/data.id. And don't forget to put router and data.id in the dependency array. Just to remind you, so our data is our post, and that's because in post feed, we send data as our post, just so you don't get confused why we're looking for these fields. All right. And now let's create our own like function. It's not going to work currently because we don't have the API for that. So all we're going to do for now is open the login model when we click on like. So const on like is going to be equal to use callback. It's going to accept an event, which is a type of any. Don't forget the dependency array. And we're going to stop the propagation again. So event.stop propagation like this. And for now, all we're going to do is login model.onOpen like this. So our dependency now needs the login model. All right. And now let's create our created add constant. So const created add is equal to use memo. Sorry, use memo, however you pronounce it, which you can import from React as well. And first of all, we're going to check if we have a valid date. So if there is no data $.created at, all we're going to do is return null. Otherwise, we're going to return format distance to now strict. And you can import that from date.fns, which we installed in one of the previous parts. All right, so format distance to now strict. Open brackets and just write new data.created at like this. All right, and just pass data $.created at. Sorry, I misspelled created at like this. All right, and now let's actually style our div. All right, so first of all, let's add onClick go to post like this. And now let's add some class names. So class name is equal to border-b square brackets 1 pixel border-neutral-800 p dash 5, cursor dash pointer, hover, bg dash neutral dash 100, and transition. So, okay, I have two fields right here because I created two posts. You can just go ahead and write another one, and you will see that we now have 3 posts right here. So you can play around with it a little bit, just so you see how we are getting new posts loaded. If you try and click, you're gonna get a 404. All right. So now let's go inside of here and let's create a div with a class name of flex dash row items dash start gap dash 3. And let's add our avatar first. So avatar, you can import avatar from /avatar because we are in the folder. And as you can see, we now have our avatar right here, but we are missing the user ID. So let's pass user ID from data.user.id. And as you can see, it has loaded 4 of my tweets and all of them have the correct avatar. Amazing. All right. Now below this div, create a new div, which is not going to have any class names, but the first div inside is. So another div, class name is going to be flex dash row items dash center gap dash div. All right. And inside of that, let's create a paragraph right here, which is just going to say data.user.name. All right. And now we have to style this paragraph a bit. So class name is going to be equal to text dash white, font dash semi-bold, cursor dash pointer, hover, underline. Great. So now if I actually try and hover, you can see that I get an underline and a nice effect. All right. And just below that, I want to add our span. So underneath this paragraph, just add a span, which is going to say an @, and then open an object, which is going to say data.user.username. And let's style that as well. So class name is equal to text dash, sorry, I'm going to open it like this. So text dash neutral dash 500. All right. Cursor dash pointer, hover, underline, hidden, button MD is going to be visible, right? So when I collapse, I actually want to hide it because it's taking too much space. All right. And as you can see, it's also underlined as well. Great, amazing. And now I just want to add onClick on both this paragraph and this span. So add an onClick here, which is going to say go to profile. Sorry, go to user. All right, which we have created right here. And you want to do the same thing for this span. So onClick, go to user like this. All right. Okay. And now below this span, let's create another one. Span, and let's give it a class name of text dash neutral dash 500 text dash sm, and we're gonna paste created at right here. So you can see that we have created this 3 minutes ago, this one 3 minutes ago, this one 12 minutes ago, this one 48 minutes ago, and if I create another one, you can see that this one was 1 second ago. Amazing. All right. And now outside of this div, which we have created, so below this span, outside of this div, create another div, which is going to have our data.body. And let's give it a class name of text-white empty-1. Great. We now see our tweets. Amazing. All right. And now outside of this div, create another div, which is going to have the following class name. So class name, flex dash row items dash center empty dash 3 gap dash 10. Right. So right out below this data.body div, create a new div like this. And inside of that, we're going to create our likes and comments. So open up a div and let's open class name. And we're just going to write flex dash row items dash center text dash neutral dash 500 gap dash 2 cursor dash pointer transition hover text dash sky 500. All right. And what I'm gonna just write inside is an icon. So AI outline message. You can import AI outline message from react-icons/AI like this. All right, so let's go right here to our AI outline message and let's give it a size of 20. Great, and you can see we have our little comment icon here, and if we hover, it gets a nice little blue effect. Now, inside this div, just below this AI outline message, create a paragraph, which is going to say data dot comments question mark dot length, and just give it a pipe of 0 if it doesn't exist. Great, and as you can see, if we hover, the number becomes blue as well. Amazing. All right, and now we can actually copy this div and just paste it like this. And now we have 2 comments, and we are just going to replace it. So first, let's replace the icon. So the icon of the second one isn't going to be AI outline message, is going to be AI outline heart. And you can import AI outline heart from react-icons/AI as well. All right, and now we just have to play with colors a little bit. So everything can mostly stay the same, but instead of text-sky 500, we're gonna give it a red 500. So if we hover now, you can see that we get a nice little red effect when we hover. Perfect. All right, and I just want to add an onClick to this div right here for likes. OnClick. For now, it's just gonna say onLike. And if you remember, all we did is we triggered the login model. So if you click right here, it's gonna open the login model. All right, and that's actually it for our post item. We're gonna go back later to actually implement the like functionality and some comments. All right, all I want to do now is I want to add this exact feed right here to my profile right here. So what we're going to do is we are going to go and close everything up, and we are going to go into pages, into users, user ID right here, and just below this user bio, you're going to add post feed, and you're going to import that from add/components/posts post feed. And remember, here we have to pass the user ID, because right now we're going to get all of the tweets, but we just want the tweets from our user. So user ID is equal to user ID as string. And nothing has changed because we only have one user. So just to test things out, I'm going to log out and I'm going to create a new user. All right, and now I have this new user and I'm going to try and tweet something. This is my first tweet. All right, so on the global feed, we can see all of the tweets, but if we go into Code with Antonio, as you can see, we can only see Code with Antonio tweets. And if I go to new user, I can only see new user tweet. Amazing, amazing job. All right, in this part of the tutorial, we're going to create our like function as well as our follow function right here. All right, so let's start and let's wrap everything up, and let's go into Pages API and create a new file, follow.ts. Let's create our handler. So export default synchronous function handler, which accepts a request of next API request and a response of next API response. Right, and first let's limit this to post and delete. So if request method is not equal to post, and if request method is also not equal to delete, in that case we're going to return response status 405 and end the call. All right, now let's open our try and catch block, and let's handle the error as always. So log for development and return response status 400 and end the call. All right, and now in our try block, first let's extract the user ID, which we will get from the query. So const user ID is equal to request.body, sorry, not query, body, like this. All right, and now let's get the current user. So const and extract current user from await server auth, which you can import from add/libs slash server auth like this. And remember to pass the request parameter right here. Now let's check if the user ID is correct. So if there is no user ID, or if type of user ID is not equal to string, in that case, throw new error invalid ID. All right. And now let's find our user. So const user is equal to await Prisma. And now we have to import Prisma. So import Prisma from @/libs/prisma_db. All right. And just write Prisma that user that find unique where ID is equal to user ID like this. All right. So now we have the user which we want to update. In our case, in which we want to follow. All right, so let's check if we have the user. So if there is no user, throw new error, again, invalid ID, because if we have not found any user by this ID, obviously it means that the ID is invalid. All right, now let's define the initial following IDs. So let updated following IDs is equal to spread, and just open parenthesis like this, user.following IDs pipe empty array like this. All right, and now let's handle if the request method is post. So if request that method is equal to post. So if we are adding a follow, in that case we want to do updated following IDs dot push user ID like this. And now let's do the delete. So if request method is equal to delete, we want to do updated following IDs to be equal to updated following IDs dot filter, where we are going to accept following ID, and we're just going to return. Let me just collapse this so you can see better. Like this, we're going to return following ID. Following ID is not equal to user ID. Right. So basically, we want to filter through this entire following IDs and remove the one and only leave the ones which are not the current user ID. All right. And in the end, we have to update our user. So const updated user is equal to await prisma.user.update, where ID is equal to current user.id, and the data is going to be following IDs updated following IDs like this. Great. And all we have to do at the end is just return response status 200.json updated user like this. Great. All right, now let's create our use follow hook. So go into hooks and create a new hook, use follow.ts. All right. So let's write our hook first. So const use follow is equal to user ID, which is a type of string and it's required. And in here, we're going to fetch our current user. So const data current user and mutate current user like this from use current user like that. All right. And below that, we are going to do the same thing for one user. So const mutate fetched user is equal to use user and pass the user ID inside. And don't forget to import the hook use user, which we have created in one of the previous tutorials. All right, now let's trigger the login model. So const login model is equal use login model. All right, and now let's establish if we are already following the user here. So const is following is equal to use Mimo, which you can import from React right here at the top. All right, open the function, create the dependency array, and in here, let's write our list first. So const list is equal to current user question mark dot following IDs pipe empty array. All right, and all we want to do is return list that includes user ID like this. All right, and we have to pass in user ID and current user question mark dot following IDs. Yeah, make sure you don't misspell this. So it's following IDs. So const list is equal to current user question mark dot following IDs multiple. All right. And now let's create our toggle follow function. So const toggle follow is equal to use callback, which you can import from React right here at the top. And inside, first let's check whether we are logged in or not. So if there is no current user, all we want to do is return login model.onOpen like this. Great. And now let's write our try and catch block. So try, catch, error. And let's handle the error first. So if there is an error when we are following the user, we want to do toast, which you can import from react-hot-toast, and just error, something went wrong. All right. And in our try block, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a let request. And now we're going to differentiate whether we are already following the user. So if we want to unfollow or follow the user. So if is following, which we have defined right here in this use memo, again, just make sure I made a mistake here that it is following IDs, not following ID. So following IDs like this. All right. So if is following, in that case, the request is equal to an arrow function, which returns Axios.delete. Make sure you import Axios, which you can import from Axios right here at the top. So Axios.delete /API/follow, and just pass in data and inside user ID like this. All right. And else, if we are not following the user, we want to follow them. So the request is going to be an arrow function again, but this time Axios.post /API/follow. And you can just pass in user ID without the data. So in this case, we need data because this is a delete request. So this is how it accepts the body. But in post request, you can just pass the body like this. All right. And what you want to do now is await request like this. Yep, I made a mistake here. So it cannot do await because we have not defined that our toggle follow use callback arrow function is asynchronous. So just wait async right here at the top. Great. And the error should go away now. So make sure the function is asynchronous. All right. So after we await the request, we want to mutate current user and we want to mutate fetched user as well. And let's just toast success, success. All right. And now let's fill our dependency array. So we are missing the current user is following user ID, mutate current user. And I'm just going to collapse this so you can see what we're writing. All right, so mutate current user, mutate fetched user, and login model like this. Great. All right, and all we want to do at the end is just return an object is following and toggle follow like this. All right, so this is our is following. Use follow hook right here, and just don't forget to export default use follow at the end right here. Perfect. And now let's actually go into components, into users, into user bio right here. And what we want to do here, just above this created at between this model, we want to import our use follow. So const, and let's extract is following and toggle follow from use follow hook, which you can import at hooks/use follow right here. Open the parentheses in the use follow and pass in user ID. Great. And now we have our is following and toggle follow. Great. And now let's go into this button right here. So instead of empty function right here on this follow button, we're going to write toggle follow. Instead of static follow, we're going to have dynamic text. So is following. We're going to write unfollow. Otherwise, we're going to write follow like this. Now, secondary is going to also be dynamic. So secondary if it is not following. So exclamation mark is following like this. And outline is following. All right. So now let's go ahead and let's try and click follow on Code with Antonio here or whichever user you created. And as you can see, it gets success. The one follower gets appended right here, and I have the unfollow button. And if I actually go to my profile, you can see that I have one following right here. And if I try to unfollow, you can see that it works. There is 0 followers for this user, and if I go back to my profile, it says 0 following as well. Great job. All right, so in this part of the tutorial, we're going to implement liking our post. But before we do that, I want to implement something else first. Right now, if you try and click on any post, you're going to get a 404 page because our /posts/id does not exist yet. So let's go ahead and let's create a route for that. So let's close everything up and let's handle the API first. So go into Pages, API, and create, actually we already have a folder posts. So inside of that, just create a new file and open square brackets and write postid.ts like that. Great. And now let's write our handler. So export default asynchronous function handler, which accepts a request of next API request and the response of next API response. All right, and now let's limit the route to get only. So if request method is not equal to get, return response status 405 and end the call. Great, now let's open our try and catch block. Let's handle the error. So for development, we're going to log the error and just return response status 400 and end the call. Great. Now in our try block, let's extract the post ID from request query, which we are going to have because of this special syntax that Next.js will recognize. So we know we're going to have post ID in our query. So const the structure post ID from request.query like that. Great. Now let's check if our post ID is valid. So if there is no post ID, or if type of post ID is not equal to string, just return throw new error invalid ID like this. All right, and now let's find our post. So const post is equal to await Prisma, which we have to import. So go ahead and write import Prisma from @/libs/prisma_db. So await Prisma that find unique where ID is equal to post ID, and we're just gonna include some stuff. So let's include user, and now let's also include comments, but we're gonna open an object because we also want to populate comments user. So also write include inside of that user true, and outside include just write order by created at descending. Great. So we want to load this individual post. We want to populate its user, and we also want to load all of the comments for this post. But we also want to populate the user who created that comment, and we want to order all of the comments by newest. Great. All right. And all we have to do now is return response status 200.json post like this. Great. And now let's create our use post hook. So go into hooks, and you can just copy use posts and rename it to use post like this. Instead of user ID, first let's actually rename the hook. So the hook is named use post, so make sure you rename the hook to use post as well. Instead of user ID, is going to accept post ID, which is a required string. And in this case, the URL is going to be checking for post ID, and it's going to go to /API/posts, but instead of user ID, it's going to be /post ID in this special object right here. And if there is no post ID, we're not going to fetch anything. So our URL for use post hook is going to check if we have a post ID, and if it is, it's going to go to /API/posts/post ID, because that is how we defined in post ID route right here. And if there is no post ID, we're not going to fetch anything. Great. And you can leave everything exactly as it is. All right. And now what I want to create is I want to create this actual page, which is going to fix this 404. So let's close everything up and let's go into pages and let's create a folder posts. Great. And inside this posts, create a new file. Again, square brackets post ID, but this time .tsx. All right. And let's name this post view, and let's just return an empty div. And now if we actually refresh right here, you can see we no longer get a 404, we just get an empty page because there's nothing here yet. All right, so let's add our router. Const router is equal to use router. And let's get the post ID from router.query. Again, we can get the post ID because of this special Next.js structure. So const and this structure post ID from router.query. All right. And now let's fetch our post. So const data is equal to fetched post. And let's also add is loading right here from our newly created hook use post. So make sure you don't import use posts. We need use post, our newly created hook, and we have to pass the required post ID here. All right. And make sure you just write as string. Great. So just you can command or control click on this to make sure that is this new hook right here. All right. And now let's handle the loading. So if is loading, or if there is no fetched post, we want to return div with the class name of flex justify dash center items dash center and h dash full. And inside of that, we're going to add our clip loader from React dash spinners. All right, and we're just going to give some color to this clip loader. So color is going to be light blue, and size is going to be 80. And as you can see, we have our little loader there for a second. And now let's actually style our post view. So write an empty fragment like this. And first of all, we're going to add our header component. You can import header from add/components/header. All right, and let's give it a label. The label is going to be tweet like this, and also add show back arrow like this. Great. And now we have this tweet, and if you actually click back, you're gonna get back to where you came from. In our case, is the users. And if I click again, you can see that I load for a second, and then we'll load the header. All right. And now we're going to reuse our post item component, which we created last time here. So we have this post item right here. So let's just import post item from add/components/posts post item right here. And we have to give it a data of fetched post like this. And if you save, you will actually see that we have the view of our post item. Great. Now below this, I want to add a form which we will use to reply to this post. So below that, just add form, which you can import from add/components/form. And let's give it a couple of values. So it's going to have a post ID as a string. It's going to have is comment attribute, which we are not actually going to be able to see why yet, but we're going to add that once we implement the comment functionality, and add a placeholder, tweet your reply. And great, now we have an option to tweet our reply. And if you try right now, it's actually not going to create a reply. It's going to create another post here on the global pages, but we're going to fix that in the following tutorial. All right, and now I want to implement the liking functionality. All right, so let's close everything up and let's go into Pages API and create a new file like.ts. All right, and let's export default asynchronous function handler. Just going to accept a request of next API request and the response of next API response. All right, and let's limit this to 2 methods. So if request method is not equal to post, and if request method is not equal to to delete either, in that case return response status 405 and end the call. If this seems similar, is because this like endpoint is going to be very similar to our follow endpoint as well. It's going to use pretty much the same logic, but we're going to write it one more time just to confirm our knowledge. So now let's open a try and catch block, and let's handle the error. So log the error and return response status 400 and end the call. All right. And now in our try and catch block, let's extract post ID from request.body. So const post ID request.body like this. And let's also extract our current user. So const current user from await server out, which you can import from add/libs/server out. And don't remember to pass in request in the parentheses right here. And I also want to import Prisma while we're here. So import Prisma from add/lid/Prisma pb like this. All right. And now let's check if our post ID is valid. So if there is no post ID, or if type of post ID is not equal to string, throw new error invalid post. Sorry, you can just write invalid ID like this. All right, now let's find our post. So const post is equal to await prisma dot post dot find unique, where ID is equal to post ID. All right, great job. Now let's check if this post actually exists. So if there is no post, we're gonna throw new error invalid ID again. All right, and now let's create our liked IDs list. So let updated liked IDs is equal to an array in which we will spread an open parenthesis right here, in which we will spread post that liked IDs like this, and just give it a pipe of an empty array. All right. Now let's handle what will happen if this is a post request. So if request method is equal to post, we're going to use updated liked IDs and push the current user.id, because the current user which initiated this call is the one that is liking this post. So we want to add this current user ID to the list of liked IDs of this post right here. Great. And now let's handle delete. So if request method is equal to delete, we want to return updated liked IDs is equal to updated liked IDs dot filter liked ID, and we just want to filter everything that is not the current user ID. So liked ID is not equal to current user dot ID like this. Great. So if it's post request, we're going to add the ID to the list of liked IDs. If it is a delete request, that means that user has unliked this post and we want to remove it from the array. Great. And let's just update the post here. So const updated post is equal await prisma.post.update, where ID is equal to post ID and the data is liked IDs, and it's equal to updated liked IDs, which we have modified here depending on whether it's a post or a delete request. Great. And in the end, just return response status 200.json updated post. Perfect. All right. And now let's create our use like hook. So let's close everything up. Let's go into hooks and create a new file, use like.ts. Great. So const use like is going to accept a couple of props right here. So it's going to accept post ID and user ID. And we can just write types for that right here. Post ID is a type of string, and user ID is an optional type of string, like that. And you can just return the function right here. All right. So in here, let's get our current user. Const data current user is equal to use current user, which you can import from /use current user. Now let's import the individual post which we are liking. So const data fetched post, and mutate is going to be equal to mutate fetched post, and that's going to be equal to use post and post ID right here. And you can import use post from /use posts. Great. I'm just going to expand this a little bit so you can see what we're doing. All right. And now let's also import our use posts, so we can also refresh all of the posts if they're liked. So const, we just need mutate fetched posts like this is equal to use posts. And you also want to pass user ID. So the reason we are having this user ID right here is for a chance that we are just liking individual user tweets like this. And we are not going to have the user ID if we are liking public tweets like this. Great. Now let's add the login model. So const login model is equal to use login model. You can also import that from /use login model right here. And now let's define our has liked constant. So const has liked is equal to use Mema, which you can import from React right here at the top. All right. And let's create our list. So const list is equal to fetched post question mark dot liked IDs pipe empty array, like that. Great. And we're just going to return list that includes current user question mark dot ID. So we want to check if the current user, which we are logged in, has liked this loaded post right here, fetched post, which we have aliased here. Great. And let's add the dependency array. So we are missing current user question mark dot ID and fetched post question mark dot liked IDs. All right. Now below that, let's add our toggle like method. So const toggle like is equal to use callback, which you can import from React right here. And we're going to write an asynchronous arrow function. Don't forget the dependency array right here. And in here, first, we're going to check whether we are logged in or not. So if we are not logged in, or if we don't have current user, we're just going to open our login model. So return login model that on open, like this. Great. Otherwise, we're going to create a request. So open a try and catch block. And let's handle the catch first. So we want to toast an error. So toast, which you can import from react-host-toast.error, and just write something went wrong. All right. And now let's handle our try. So first define let request right here. Let's check first if has liked. So if we already like this post, we want to unlike it. So the request is going to be an arrow function which points to Axios, which you can import from Axios right here at the top, dot delete /API /like. And we're going to pass in data with a post ID like this. And otherwise, if we haven't liked this and we want to like it for the first time, the request is going to be Axios.post /API /like, and we can just pass the post ID like this. Again, we have to pass in data here because this is a delete request and it accepts body a little bit different. So very simple. If we already like the post, we want to unlike it. Otherwise, we want to like it for the first time. Great. And now let's just write await request. And after that, let's mutate fetched posts like this. And let's mutate fetched post individually, just like this. So mutate fetched post and mutate fetched post, which we have imported from this use post hook and use posts right here. And at the end, let's just toast success with success. Or you can write something like successfully liked if you want to. Now let's fill our dependency array right here. So current user has liked post ID, mutate fetched post, mutate fetched posts, and login model. Great. And in the end, let's just return has liked and toggle like this. And don't forget to export default use like hook. All right, perfect, great job. And now let's close everything and let's go into our components, post item right here. And let's make use of this like hook right here. So what I want to do now is just below this current user, I'm gonna go and import has liked and toggle like, and I'm gonna open use like hook, which you can import from add/hooks/use like, which we just created. And inside, I'm going to pass post ID, which is equal to data.id, because remember, data is the post in post item component, and we're also going to pass user ID. Great. And now we can actually go back into this on like right here and modify it a little bit. So first, let's check if we have the current user. So if there is no current user, in that case, we're going to call login model.onOpen and make sure you return this like this. So we want to break the call and open a login model if there is no current user. And otherwise, we're going to do toggle like. Great. And now we have to add the current user and toggle like to the dependency array as well. Great. And now we have to make use of this has liked hook right here. So for that, first I want to import another icon right here. So we have AI outline heart, but I also want to add AI fill heart like this. Great. All right, and now just below this created at, let's create a constant called like icon. So const like icon is going to be equal to has liked. So if we already liked it, we want to show the filled heart icon. So AI fill heart, otherwise AI outline heart like this. And now we're going to use this like icon in place of this AI outline heart right here. So replace AI outline heart with this dynamic like icon. Nothing should change right now, but if you go ahead and try and like something, you should see a change in which we just hearted an icon like this. And of course, we are still loading comments here. So let's just change that. And instead of comments here underneath the like icon, we're going to say liked IDs.length. And just like that, you see that we now have loaded how many people have liked this post. So you can go ahead and click on this one. It's going to turn to full and it's going to turn to number 1. And I want to add another styling here. So I want to keep it red by default if we have liked this. So I'm going to add a color option right here. And I'm going to say has liked question mark red, otherwise empty. Great. So if we have liked it, it's going to be red by default. Great. And you can actually go into my profile and check if it's the same here. As you can see, it is. You can even click here and try and unlike here. As you can see, it's going to remove. You can go back. It's going to remove here either. You can even go further back and it removed it right here. Great. Amazing, amazing job. In the next part of the tutorial, we are going to create our comments functionality. All right. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to implement our comments and replies in individual posts. So let's go ahead and let's close everything and let's go into Pages, API, and let's create a new file called comments.ts. Let's create our handler. So export default asynchronous function handler, which accepts a request of next API request and the response of next API response, which you can both import from next. First, let's limit this method to post only. So we will only use this to create comments. So if request method is not equal to post, you can just return response status 405 and end the call. All right. Now let's open our try and catch block. Let's handle the error and return response status 400 and end the call. Great. All right, now let's first protect this route and extract our current user. So const destructure the current user from await server out and pass the request. And you can import server out from @/libs/server out. Great. Below that, we're going to extract our body from request.body. So destructure body from request.body. Again, keep in mind this body and this body is not the same thing. This body is going to be equal to our Prisma schema for the comment model right here where we defined body. So I just don't want you to do this, for example, because it's not correct. And I also want to extract post ID for which we will attach this comment to. So const post ID is going to be equal to request.query. All right. Now let's check if the post ID is valid. So if there is no post ID or if type of post ID is not equal to string, you can just return, excuse me, you can throw new error invalid ID. Great. And now let's create our comment. So const comment is equal await Prisma, and let's import Prisma. So import Prisma from @/libs/prisma_db, and then go back await prisma.comment.create. Open an object and write some data here. And for that, we're going to use body. We're going to use user ID, which is current user.id. And we also need post ID, which is post ID. And you can just use the shorthand like this. Great. And now we just have to return this comment. So return response status 200.json comment. All right. And now I actually want to go back into our form. So go into components, form right here, and we're actually gonna, my bad. So go into form, and we're actually gonna make use of this is comment prop right here. So we're gonna go in our on submit right here, and we're gonna separate this URL and make it a bit dynamic depending on if this is a form for the global feed right here, or if this is a form for a reply right here. So const URL is going to be equal to is comment question mark open annotations slash API slash comments question mark post ID is going to be equal to special object post ID, like this. So I'm just going to write it like this so you can see. Oh, my bad. Otherwise, it's just going to be slash API slash posts, like this. Great. And then you can use this URL instead of this hard-coded slash API slash posts. And just remember to use the is comment right here. And we also need the post ID. Great. So the new URL will check if this current form is a comment or reply right here. And in that case, it's going to use our newly created route API slash comments, which also accepts the body, but also a post ID right here. So we can reuse it like this. And if it's not a comment, if we're just on our global feed, then it's just going to use slash API slash posts. So you can actually try it now. And let's say this is my global post. And let's tweet that. And you should see that it's now appearing here. But now I'm going to go into this reply right here and try and write this is my comment. And we should not be able to see this anywhere for now. So I'm just going to tweet, and it says tweet has been created. But if I go back, there is nowhere to be seen this comment, but it's going to be loaded right here. So that's what we're going to do next. So let's go back and close everything. And let's go into pages, posts, post ID right here. And just below this form, we want to add a new component, comment feed, like this. And we're going to pass the parameter comments, which is going to be fetched post question mark dot comments, like this. And if you save, we're going to get an error because this component does not exist. So let's go into components, posts, and let's create comment feed.tsx. Let's name the component comment feed. And let's create some interface here. So interface comment feed props is equal to comments, which are optional, and they are an array of objects. So record, string, comma, any, and just an empty array at the end right here. And let's pass these props here. So comment feed props. And in here, let's just extract comments like this. All right. And we can just return an empty fragment like this. And let's just write comments.map. And let's select a comment. And let's return, for now, just an empty div. And let's give it a key of comment.id, like this. And yeah, so here we have the right comments question mark dot map, but if you want to improve that, you can just default this to an array, and then you don't have to use the question mark. So if you write comments and default, give it a default value of an empty array, you can just safely write comments dot map. All right, and now let's go back into our post ID here, and let's just import the comment feed, which we created from add/components/posts/comment feed. All right, now we're not seeing anything here because we're actually not loading any comments. So for that, we're going to replace this div actually, and we're going to write comment item right here. And we're going to pass key, which is comment.id, and we're going to pass data, which is comment, like this. And we're going to get an error because comment item component does not exist. So let's go ahead, let's go into posts, and let's just create a file, comment item.tsx. So in components, posts, create a file, comment item.tsx. Let's name it comment item, like this, and let's just return an empty div to fix this error. So go back into comment feed and just import the comment item from comment item. All right, now let's create the interface for this comment item. So interface comment item props, we'll have data, which is a type of record, string, any otherwise known as an object. So let's assign this props here, comment item props, and let's extract the data right here. All right, and now let's add some hooks and some methods. So first let's add our router. Const router is equal to use router. You can import that from next/router right here at the top. After that, let's create our goToUser method. So const goToUser is going to be equal to use callback. We're just going to accept an event of any. Let's not forget the dependency array. And let's prevent propagation. So event.stop propagation like this. We already explained a few times what this is. Basically, it will override the parents on click. And now let's just write router.push, and let's open template literals like this and write /users/ open special object data.user.id like this. Perfect. And let's just pass in router and data.user.id as our items in the dependency array. And now let's create our created at constant. So const created at is equal to use memo, which you can import from React right here at the top, where we imported use callback as well. And first, let's check if we have the created at field. So if there is no data dot created at, we're just going to return null. Otherwise, return format distance to now strict from date fns, which you can import right here at the top. So format distance to now strict, we already used this in the post item. And in here, just pass new date data.created at. Just like that. And in the dependency array, make sure you pass data dot created at like this. Great. And now let's get to styling. So I'm just going to collapse this. All right. And let's write some class names for this div. Border -b square brackets 1 pixel, border -neutral -800, p-5, cursor -pointer, hover bg -neutral -900, and transition. And as you can see, we have the field for our existing comment right here. If you haven't created any comment, you can actually go ahead and tweet, and you can see that we will soon get another one here. I think if we refresh, because we have not added mutations actually. Yeah, like this. All right. And now inside, create another div, and let's give it a class name of flex-row items-start gap-3. And inside of that, I want you to add our avatar component, which you can import from /avatar, and just pass it the user ID. So user ID is equal to data.user.id. All right. And now let's go outside of this div right here. Sorry, below the avatar, let's just write a div, and let's write another div inside, and let's give it a class name of flex-row items-center gap-2. All right. Inside of that, let's write a paragraph, which is just going to write data.user.name. All right, and give it a class name of the following: text-white, font-semi-bold, cursor-pointer, and hover underline. All right. So we have this underline right here, as you can see, and we have the new user image here. All right, and let's add a paragraph. Let's add an onClick for this paragraph. So onClick is equal to goToUser. All right, and just below this paragraph, let's create a span, which is going to have data.user.username. But before that, I just want to append an @ sign like this. All right, and let's style this span now. So open class name, and let's just write text-neutral -500, cursor-pointer, hover underline, hidden, MD block. So pretty much the same as the post item. So if we collapse, you can see how the username will disappear. All right. And now below this span, I just want to create another span, which will have a class name of text-neutral 500 and text-sm. And the value is going to be created at like this. And now we can see when the comment was created. All right. And just outside this span, outside this div, create another div right here. And we're just going to give data.body right here and give it a class name of text-white empty-1. Great. And we can now actually see our comments. So if I tweet another reply, this is another reply and tweet. For now, I'm going to refresh because we forgot to mutate comments. And as you can see, we have 3 replies now. And if we actually go back, you can see that they're not appearing here. And you can actually see we have 3 comments right here. Amazing. And now we just have to fix that these replies are happening here in real time. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back into our form component right here. And just below this use posts, we're going to import mutate post from use post, which you can import from @/hooks/use post. So we're going to find our individual post right here and give it a value of post ID as string right here. And we actually don't need to pass this in this posts up here anymore. So you can remove it from here and just make use of it here in use post. And just use this mutate post right here and make sure you include it after we successfully comment or create a tweet. So mutate post here and make sure you add it to the dependency array. All right. And if we actually try now, is this real time and tweet, you can see that we can now see comments in real time as well. Amazing, amazing job. And we can actually click on new user and load the new user. And we can even go from here and create a reply like this and tweet something. Great, great job. All that's left is to create the notifications. So that's what we will be doing in the next part of the tutorial. All right, so in this part of the tutorial, we are going to create our notifications. So I want to start by adding the little icon to the notifications right here. So let's close everything up and let's go into components, layout, sidebar item right here. And let's import right here ps dot from react-icons/ps like this. And let's add another property here in our props called alert, which is an optional boolean. All right. And let's extract that into our props right here. So below auth, let's add alert like this. All right. And now let's scroll here. And this is the mobile version first. So inside of here, open square brackets and write alert $ps dot like this. Otherwise, render nothing. All right. And what we want to give it is a class name of text-sky 500 absolute minus top -4 left -0 like this, and give it a size of 70. All right. So you're not going to see anything now. We can just copy this right here and just paste it after this right here and just make the size 70. I accidentally put 80, my bad. All right. So it can stay exactly the same. So just make sure you have the alert below this label here and an alert below this icon here. And you can actually go into your sidebar right here component, and you can go into notifications and add a field alert in this items to true. And just go right here in the iteration and add alert is equal to item.alert. And if you see, we got a little blue dot right here, and you can collapse and see that it's here on mobile as well. All right. And now we're actually just going to modify this alert true hard-coded value to current user dot has notification like this. So it's only going to be triggered if there is a has notification field in our current user, which means we have to alert our current user. All right. Now let's close everything up and let's write our notifications API. So let's go into Pages, the API, and create a new file, notifications. Sorry, create a new folder in the API called notifications. And inside of that, create a new file, square brackets, user ID.ts. All right, and let's export default async function handler, request, next API request, response, next API response. And let's limit this to get route. So if request method is not equal to get, return response status 405 and end the call. Now let's open our try and catch block and let's handle the error. So log for development and return response status 400 and end the call. All right, inside of here, let's fetch our user ID from the query, which we have because of the special Next.js syntax right here. So const user ID is equal to request.query. And let's check if the user ID is correct. So if there is no user ID or the type of user ID is not equal to string, let's throw new error, invalid ID. All right, and now let's find our notifications. So const notifications is equal to await Prisma. And now let's go ahead and import Prisma. So import Prisma from add/lib/prisma-db. So await prisma.notification.find many where user ID, like this. And let's just order by created at sending, so we always get the newest notifications. And now let's also update the user. So whenever we load this /notifications, we want to reset our has notification field to false. So await prisma.user.update where ID, user ID, data has notification is going to be false, like this. And just return response status 200 JSON notifications like this. Great. And now let's create our use notifications hook. So close everything and go into hooks and just create use notifications.ts like this. Import use SVR from SVR. Import fetcher from add/libs/fetcher. And const use notifications will accept a user ID, which is an optional string. And now let's define our dynamic URL. So const URL is equal to user ID. If there is user ID, open the template literal strings /API/notifications/user ID like this, otherwise null. And then let's just add that to the SVR. So const data error is loading, mutate, use SVR, URL, and fetcher, like that. And let's just return data error is loading, and mutate like this. And export default use notifications. Great. All right. And now let's actually create this notifications route, which right now is giving 404. So let's close everything up and let's go into Pages and create a new file, notifications.tsx. Let's name it notifications like this, and let's just return an empty div for now. And if you refresh, there is no more 404 errors here. All right, great. Instead of this div, let's open an empty fragment and let's add a header component from add/components/header, and let's give it a label of notifications, and let's enable the show back arrow so we can go back from where we came from. All right. And what I want to do here is I want to protect this /notifications so it cannot be accessed by unauthorized users, because I can technically log out now And yes, if I click on notifications, I will get a login, but if I go /notifications, I can still load them. So we want to protect that. So let's just go ahead and write export async function get server side props, which accepts context, which is type of next page context. Open this function and let's get our session. So const session is equal await get session from next dash out slash react like this. Get session and pass in the context like this. If there is no session, you want to return redirect destination slash permanent false, and just outside this if, remember to return props session like this. And now if you try and refresh here, you can see that I'm actually redirected back to homepage because I'm not logged in. So if I try to manually go to /notifications, I'm not allowed to. Great. So, but if I actually log in, and try and go to notifications now, you can see that I can go to my notifications. Great. And now below this header, let's add notifications feed, which we will have to create. So let's go into components and create a new file, notifications feed.tsx right here. Let's name the component notifications feed, and let's just return an empty div. Let's go back into our pages /notifications and let's just import this from /components notifications feed to fix the error. All right. And now let's add some hooks here. So const data current user and mutate current user is equal use current user from @/hooks/use current user. Below that, const data fetched notifications is equal to an empty array from use notifications hook, which we just created, and the ID we're going to pass is current user $.id like this. And now we're going to create a use effect here. So use effect, in which we are just going to refetch our user. So mutate current user right here. The reason we are doing this is because every time we make a hit to /API/notifications, remember, I'm just gonna open it /API notifications right here, we reset our has notifications to false for our user. So what we do here is once we hit that, I just want to refetch our current user so the alert is removed every time we click on it on these notifications, so we know that we have read the newest notifications. So that's how that system is going to work. All right, and now let's create our empty state. So if fetched notifications.length is equal to 0, let's just return a div with the following class names: text-neutral-600, text-center, p-6, text-xl, and let's just write no notifications. All right, and you will see actually that is our default right here, so no notifications. All right, and now for this main function right here, for this main div, let's give it the following class name: flex-call, and inside open curly brackets and write fetched notifications.map notification, which is a type of record, string, comma any, and inside you're gonna return a div, which is gonna have a key of notification.id and the class name of the following. So it's gonna have flex-row, flex-row items-center p-6 gap-4 border-b square brackets 1 pixel and border-neutral-800. All right. Inside of that, we want to add an icon vs Twitter, which you can import from react/icons, react-icons/vs, like this at the top. So vs Twitter right here. And let's give it a color of white. And let's give it a size of 32. And just below that, I'm going to open a paragraph in which I'm going to write the notification.body. All right, and let's give this a class name of \white. All right, and now you're not going to be able to see anything because, again, we have no notifications. So now we're going to go back into some of our routes like follow, like, and comment, and we're going to trigger notifications. So let's go into our like API. So close everything and go into pages, API, like right here. And we're only going to trigger the notification if there is a new like. So we are going to focus on this post if clause right here. All right, so below this, let's open a try and catch block. And let's handle the error here, just log the error like this. The reason I want this to be in a try and catch block is because there is no reason that a failure of our notification creation should break the entire API call. That's why I want to encapsulate this in its own try and catch block inside our big try and catch block. All right, so inside this smaller try block right here, what I want you to do is fetch our current post. So let's go ahead and write const post is equal to await prisma.post.find unique, and we're just going to write where id is equal to post id. And now let's see if we have the user ID from this post. So if post $.user ID, in that case, let's create our notification. So await prisma.notification.create data body someone liked your tweet. Oh, and we are also missing the user ID, which is post.user ID, like this. Great. And now outside of this await right here, just let's update our user. So await prisma.user.update where id post.user ID. Let's just add data has notification true. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go to my profile right here. And I'm going to like my own tweet. All right. And after I've liked this, I'm just going to refresh for now. And as you can see, I have a notification alert because someone liked my tweet. And if I go here, you can see someone liked your tweet. And you can see that because of the use effect, my notification has been removed. Great. And now you can actually copy this try and catch for notifications. So this field right here. And let's go into our comments. So comments right here. And it's actually going to be the same thing. So after we create this comment right here, you can just paste this entire thing. So we're going to open another try and catch block after we create our comment here. We're going to find the post using post ID. We're going to find the user using that post. And instead of someone liked your tweet, we're going to write someone replied to your tweet, like that. And you can just save that. And now I'm going to go again into my profile. I'm going to select one of my tweets. And I'm going to reply to get notification. All right. And I'm going to refresh. Actually, you can see that we got our notification right here. And if I click, you can see that we get someone replied to your tweet notification. Great, amazing. And now our notifications are cleared. And one more place where we have to add this is the follow. So let's close everything up. And let's go into pages, the API, follow right here. And again, in the post method right here, it's actually going to be a bit simpler because we already have the user ID. So what we're going to do right here is again open our try and catch block for the notifications. So just log the notification error. No need to break the entire call because something failed here. And let's create our notification. So await prisma.notification.create data body someone followed you exclamation mark, and user ID is equal to user ID, but you can just use the shorthand like this. And let's update our user. So await prisma.user.update where ID is equal to user ID and data has notification true. And for this one to test, we actually need to log out. Let's actually follow this new user right here. So I'm going to follow him. All right, and I'm going to log out. And I'm going to log in. And as you can see, in my profile, new user, I have a new notification. Someone followed you. Amazing, amazing job. You finished notifications. Good job. You completed the entire project. Alright, to end the video, I just want to show you how you can deploy this on Vercel. But before you do that, I would advise you that you do not use the name Twitter in your URLs because it might be misunderstood as a phishing website. This video is purely made for educational purposes and in no way intended to be used for hacking or phishing. So creating a new repository, as you can see, I renamed my repository to Plitter instead of Twitter because we don't want our site to appear as a phishing website. And you can also go ahead and search for Twitter instances in your app and maybe rename welcome to Twitter to welcome to Plitter, for example, just so you don't get targeted for phishing. So I'm going to rename this to Plitter as well. You don't have to do this if it's just for personal use, but if you plan on sharing this with someone, it will be nice if you would change and remove Twitter instances from your app. All right, so now just create this repository. Since this already exists, I'm going to use this second option. All right, and now I have this Plitter deploy right here, and I'm going to go into Vercel and I'm going to click add new project. And here I have my repository Plitter-deploy, and I will click import. And now you have to go in your environment variables and you have to add the database URL to your environment variables right here. So add database URL and copy the Mongo link, paste it in the value and click add, and do the same thing for next out JWT secret and next out secret. And just click deploy. And just like that, our project has been deployed. If you had any errors, you might want to go to your terminal and just confirm with npm run lint that you have no warnings or errors in your project, because any of those can prevent the CI from building. And you can visit the website by clicking on the icon. And right here, we have our deploy. Great. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please remember to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.